Hey everybody, I'm out for a very, very, very cold walk today, and my oldest son did not come pick up the little one like he was supposed to. Apparently there's some delays dropping his friend off at something at school. So I'm at the park, and I'm basically walking circles around the park while my little one either plays in the park, he's going back and forth between playing at the park, which he's doing right now, and hopping in the car to warm up. Playing in the park, hopping in the car. But I was like, I am dressed to go walk. I had intended to go walk, meet the running group ladies for some coffee, in my case tea, and then go walk. But we got there, and I just didn't feel really right in my spirit, and it's freezing out here, so my eyes are tearing up. And my little one, the intuitive emo kid that he is, said, well, Mom, I don't think those ladies wanted to be your friend. And I was like, well, they just haven't seen me, honey. Nobody there knows me. But yeah, they didn't really make room for me. So it's important to not spend your time around energy that isn't welcoming. You know, that's one of the reasons I really like Power Fit Gym, because I feel like everybody's accepted, you know. And oh, I probably shouldn't have said all that on the live video, and I can't edit it. Not about Power Fit, but I'm just saying, well, never mind. Anyway, but so I was just like, it's really good, it's really important to manage your energy. My energy's already off today, and because I'm tired and I couldn't sleep with everything going on in the house and everybody leaving early and me being up late trying to get stuff done while everybody's asleep. So my energy's already off, and then the energy in the room wasn't good. So I said, okay, I'm just gonna go get my workout in and get my day started. You know, sometimes you just have to cut bait, you know. But he says to me, he says, I don't think those ladies wanted to be your friend. And I was like, well, honey, I don't think they did either, because they didn't make room for me. And there was room for me, but it quickly filled up. And people didn't move their stuff. So, you know, usually that's a sign. You know, you can make your way and force your way, but again, my energy is already not in the greatest place. And to me, I had the victory just showing up. You know, sometimes you get a victory just showing up. And I've been trying to show back up to this group for a while, and I just haven't been able to. And so it's just always one thing after another, or I'm home and they're not. They're all at a race or something like that. And so I was like, I am going to show up. I am making up my mind. I am showing up, and I'm showing up on time, which I did. But apparently I forgot what the Air Force taught me, that on time is late. So anyway, I said, let's just go. But he said, this is what he said. He said, I don't think they really want to be your friends, Mom. And I have the same problem. He said, I don't understand why they don't want to be your friend, because you're a great friend. But yeah, I just saw him going to the car. So like, I'm watching him. If y'all wonder why my eyes are wonky and I'm not looking at y'all on the camera, it's because I'm watching my kid go back and forth between the park to the car. Because, I mean, there's nobody out here, but you know, the one time you let your guard down, right? The one time you let your guard down, that's when something happens. And for those of you who are just joining me, I am basically walking a circle around this very large parking lot because I want to get my workout in, and it's cold. And I'm dressed to go work out in cold weather. So I have a base layer on. I have my mid layer. And if I go into the gym, I would burn up. But if I go home to change, I'm not coming back out to the gym. See, I already know this about myself. See, I'm not fooling myself about my flesh. I am not deceiving myself about my flesh. So my son observes what I observe, which makes me feel bad because he's really emo. I think I'm using that word right. He really picks up on the emotions of the people around him. And he really wants everybody to be happy. And I'm trying to teach him, wow, that wind is ridiculous. I'm trying to teach him that he cannot make everybody happy. And I'm trying to teach him that he has to understand that, oh, there he goes to go play again. I'm trying to teach him that you can't make everybody happy, and I hope that y'all can hear me because the wind is feeling really loud in my ears. But I'm trying to teach him you can't make everybody happy. You can't make everybody your friend. And what I haven't taught him yet And this is something that I did not teach my oldest early enough. And I regret not teaching my oldest early enough. But sometimes there's reasons that people don't like you. And I'm not saying that's the case with this morning. But sometimes there's reasons that people don't like you. And there is nothing you can do about it. You know, like anybody who knows me, you know I work out almost every day. And I'm in my second round of doing sugar-free, which includes things that turn to sugar in your bloodstream or things that cause inflammation. So no sugar, no flour, no dairy, no corn, no soy, no legumes, right? No like potatoes, right? So potatoes is out too. But there's something else, I forget what it is. Oh, no artificial sweeteners. So stevia or nothing, right? And so I'm doing this thing. I am allowing myself to have a little bit of fruit this round, and I find that my body responds well to that. So anybody who knows me, you know that I care much about my health, but I don't look like it, you know? I don't look like I did in my Miss Veteran America days. But when I was a finalist for Miss Veteran America, I was still, y'all, I gotta post that picture for you. I was still 180 pounds. So I was never been a small woman, a petite woman. I've always been built like a linebacker, which is probably why my son is such a good defensive football player. My oldest one. But one of the things that I failed to teach him, and I'm not really sure when to teach little one, is that, you know, there's sometimes people just aren't going to like you, and there's really nothing you can do about it. And sometimes it's for things you can't control. Because in his mind, he should be able to control that. And so what I did tell him about today was, well, honey, people here in this town, they value people from this town. They value, let's make sure I don't get hit here. They value people who's been here for generations, whose mommies and grandmas and papas that they've been knowing, right? This is one of those kinds of towns. You don't just show up in Stephenville, Texas, and plant a flag and boom, you're on the map. That's not how this town works. Like in Louisiana, it took me a good 3.5, 4 years to actually build a business that could sustain itself. And I didn't expect that because in DC and in other markets that I've had a business in, you know, in DC, I put a class out on Meetup and sell it for $200 a seat, and it fills up immediately, right? Like I'm just used to that. Back when I had a business there, I made good money in Oklahoma near the base. I made good money in Alabama, but I made good money in Alabama through gimmicks, not business. I'll talk to y'all about that some other time. That wasn't really a business. I thought I was doing good at business. What I was good at was giving people a discount, and they came for the discount. They came for the fishes and the loaves. They didn't come to build a community business. So anyway, in Louisiana, it took a little longer. And in Stephenville, I can see that it's going to take a little longer. So that's what I told him today. I said, well, you know, sometimes it's going to take a while for us to be part of the community. Even though I serve the city of Stephenville as a vice chair of the Board of Adjustment, people still don't, a lot of regular folks don't pay attention to that stuff, you know? Nobody who's not into construction and real estate and the progress of the construction of the town and the economic development of the town, nobody else pays attention to that stuff. Like your average mom is not watching that stuff, right? So it's just going to take some time. But it really broke my heart, and it just shocked me that he, at 8 years old, is already feeling this rub of, I'm not good enough and I don't fit in. And as a mom, and as a professional who teaches people that you are enough, and it doesn't matter if you fit in, there's an audience that needs what you have to offer. There's something on earth that you've been called to do. Like Les Brown reminds us, there's greatness in all of us. We have to tap into it. We have to allow the Lord to use it, and we have to not run in fear from it. As a mom who teaches people how to do those things and who has successful clients all over the world, it kills me to see my 8-year-old on the verge of tears because his mom has the same problem he has. And if mom can't overcome it, how on earth is he going to overcome it? And so I'm a little fired up. I probably shouldn't be. I don't like to make videos when I'm raw emotional. Like normally I would make this video later, but I didn't think it would carry the same punch talking about my son if I waited till my emotion died down. So if you're a parent today, I encourage you to acknowledge these things, you know. And I'm not telling my son everything, because there are things that other mothers have told me. I have met mothers in unique situations where we've been friendly, and I've been like, hey, by the way, I'm not from here. Help me understand this. And some of the things that I've been told, one, I've been told to my face that it's because I'm not from here and nobody knows me. That's why, that's one of the reasons he doesn't get invited to a lot of parties, and a lot of reason why a lot of people don't show up to his birthday party. Another reason I've been told is race. Quite frankly, race. And there's really nothing I can do about that. And I think it is starting to go out of fashion to say that someone can pass for this culture or that culture. On a winter day, Cubby can pass. And so I didn't think he was going to have that stigma of race. But it's a real thing. You know, it's a very real thing. You know, like I was saying earlier, I work out a lot. I don't look like I work out a lot. I don't look like I manage my eating, but I do. So when I'm around fit people, usually I get this, you know? And so I just don't like to be around that energy. And, but I'm going to get my workout in. I'm not doing it for somebody else's approval. I'm doing it because I want to be here for my grandchildren one day when they come. Not anytime soon. When they come. At the right time. When they come. I have to remind myself that, because every time my oldest falls in love, he reminds me that I promised him one day a month I would take care of his kids so he and his wife could go do something fun. I'm like, what kind of 18-year-old remembers that? He better remember, if he gets somebody pregnant out of wedlock, he's out of my will. That's what I need him to remember. Anyway, there are some things that you can do, especially if you're older and you're feeling lonely. And I know this is going to sound cliche. The first thing is spirit to be that comforter. You know, that's one thing that I don't find in my studies of any other religion. I don't find in any other religion that the Lord of that religion promised to send you a supernatural comforter. Man, that y'all can hear me. I don't know in any other religion where we're promised a supernatural comforter. A comforter that comes in and wraps his spiritual arms around you and holds you when things are rough and you don't understand why and you don't know what to do next. Like, that's the God I serve. And if your friends and family and support system have failed you, I encourage you to give my Lord a try, because he's never failed me. He's carried me in my weak moments, and he's comforted me when everything was falling down around me. He's comforted me when I've laid in the hospital room wondering if I was ever going to get my brain back. He's comforted me during times when I was worried that I was going to lose my family, or I was going to lose my job. You know, they falsely accused me of some things, and I felt like, oh no, my career is over. And my career really was over. But I was afraid they were going to send me to jail. Knowing that they're false, that they knew that they're false. And if you're going to accuse somebody of something knowing it's false, well, what I didn't know is that's just a way that they mess with you to try to force you to retire. I didn't know that. So all those fears, all those times of fear, all those times where I felt like, Lord, I felt like you told me to say this. I felt like you told me to ask this question. I felt like you told me to present this before those people, before this board, or before that board. And it just blew up in my face. And instead of people doing what I would have expected them to do, hey there, firstborn, why are you parked all the way over there?
Because I tried to find, and I saw the bus, and then,
Yeah. Hey, boo.
It was all the way over there, and then you said Spark, and I was like, what?
I told you the entrance on Graham Street by the baseball. There's the baseball.
I thought that was the baseball.
Has your brother ever played a game over there?
Yes.
No, he's played over here. Look, the big parking lot. Has he played a game over there? If he has, I don't remember it. Uh-huh. Nice try. Ah. All right. All right, so he's coming. Huh? You're going to take him home and you're going to wash the dishes. Later. Later. When mom's ready to go work on her after you use your muscle to help me work on my office. All right. Hey, KB, do you need your stuff? Get your stuff. Hey, do me a favor. Come cut off my car. I'm on a video. Yeah. Oh, wait. No, I have the key in my pocket. Never mind. Hey, y'all. I'm sorry. Hang on a second. I'm going to cut off this car and lock it, and then I'm going to go for a walk. Actually, never mind. I'm just going to drive over to where the trail actually starts.
Hi, people on the live. Howdy.
Meow.
All right. Go, go, go. Get your stuff. Hurry up. Hurry up. I'm making a video.
Hello.
And then we're going to go to my office later. Hey, I want you to get those dishes done. And then we're going to go to my office and we're going to build my light boxes and my stuff for my recordings. Huh? Yeah, we're going to go together. I'm going to come home and shower and change, and then we're going to go build my office. Ooh, I probably shouldn't shower. Yes.
Okay.
I'm just moving my car. Reading comprehension is a thing, kiddo. Anyway, I probably should wrap this up and start another video, or at least just go walk. I don't think I want to walk in the park with that, but I think I lost track of what I was saying. But the bottom line, I was going to give some ideas on how to handle loneliness. Okay, y'all hang tight. This new car, I love this new car, y'all. Check out my new car. It's got a heads-up display. Wait, can I turn the video around? I think I can. Let's see. Can I turn the video around? Oh, there we go. It's got a heads-up. Oh, that's a really dirty thing. You really can't see it, but right here where that is, that's a heads-up display. So you can, I can look and see what speed I'm going. I can see, it looks better to me than it does to y'all on the screen right here, but it shows if I'm about to go off a lane, it shows how fast I'm going, if the cruise control is set, if somebody's coming up, it gives me a warning little dealies on the side. I love the heads-up display, and I love the fact that the map dealie is up here, right? But the problem is I don't have a place like I used to have to put my phone, and actually, I don't have a place to put my phone and hold it without messing up the vents. So I did that one time, and I said, I'm never going to do that again. Not on this beautiful new car. Y'all like this car? This nice car. This is a Mazda CX-5 Turbo, y'all. It's nice. It needs a bath, but it's nice. It drives so nice on these back roads. Okay, anyway, I don't have a good place to hang this so I can actually talk to you all while I'm doing this. So this is going to look really raggedy for a second. Because I'm going to move to the trail. But then I want to talk about, if y'all will bear with me a little bit, I want to talk about what to do if you are older and lonely, because loneliness is a huge problem. And people say it's harder to make friends when you're older. I think that's true to some extent. I think it is harder to make friends, but I think when you find friends that you like, I think when you find friends that are like you, or that you like, or that you resonate with, I think it's faster because you're so happy to have people that you resonate with. Now, this is kind of freaky. I'm still going to park here, but that's a little ominous. Oh, he got a whole setup in there. All right. I'll show y'all what I mean in a second. All right, y'all didn't see what he looked like as he was walking back to his car. Well, we gonna be nice, because you know what? A lot of people look at me. And they have something to say. Did I ever tell y'all the story of when, I'm gonna get back to loneliness in a second, but hey, how you doing today?
I'm good, how you doing?
All right. Look like you got a nice setup there.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Not too good in the cold, but...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've got some insulation inside here, but when it gets down below freezing, you can feel it.
Oh, I bet. You know, I was about to buy me a Jeep because I really like the ruggedness of it, but then I drove it in the mountains in Colorado 2 weeks ago. I said, not in this cold. No, I'm gonna need this. Enough insulation? It's not enough insulation.
There's hardly any in a Jeep. So.
That's right. Well, you take care.
You too. Have a good day.
Did I ever tell y'all the story about when I was walking in my old neighborhood in Louisiana? I lived in a town called Bossier City, which my business was in Shreveport, across the river, but my house was in Bossier, okay? Bossier was where all the officers lived, pretty much, you know? And I thought I was trying to be a little bit somewhat highfalutin and trying to live where my peers lived. Unfortunately, because of I was still climbing out of $800,000 of debt, I couldn't quite live where all my peers lived. Like, I couldn't live in Tiburon. I had to, or Deer Park, Deer Creek. I had to live kind of like 2 minutes south of that. But still, it was one of those neighborhoods that when I first moved in, there was only one other family that looked like me. And unfortunately for the housing values, by the time I moved out, there were a lot of families that looked like me, and the property values dropped. And I even had a realtor explain to me that that was a huge reason why. But then they built a Walmart, and so there was some kind of shopping center, so now the property values are going up again. But good for them. They got in. People that got in. But then one time I'm walking, and y'all ever hear of an app called Next Door? On this app called Next Door, is my mileage? Sorry, because it should be telling me mileage. I don't have my headsets today, so it should be telling me mileage, and you should be hearing how slow I'm going, because I was walking in circles. In this neighborhood, they had this app called Next Door. A lot of neighborhoods have it. I have it here too. Well, back then it used to show you all the addresses. But I was walking in the morning, like I often do, if I can't get to the trail. And I used to like to do the trail on base because it's safe, and I'm by myself, right? So for me, safety is important. You know, like as this town grows, I imagine there's going to come a time where this trail that I'm walking on is not safe enough to just walk all times and do the same routine. When you live in a bigger city, you have to mix up your schedule. You have to mix up your driving patterns. You have to mix up where you walk, where you run, where you do things, because you don't want to be too predictable for anybody who might make you a target. And so I think about those things, even though they don't really apply here yet. I imagine with the growth of the city that they will eventually apply here. So I'm not going to forget those street smarts, right? But anyway, you know, I'm walking and somebody posts that there is an overweight black man wandering around the neighborhood. And I think to myself, I wonder who that would be, because nobody else lives here except for this one other family, and they're older. They wouldn't be up this early walking around. And then another comment on the post says, I see him at the corner of blah, blah, blah. And so because my oldest was at home with the baby, I had my phone up to even hear the notifications. Because normally I don't have notifications when I'm out doing my thing, because unless I'm looking to hear from my kids or my husband, it distracts me. And I'm easily distractible when I'm doing something like walking in 32-degree weather that I don't want to be doing. So a lot of times I'll just turn my ringer off. In fact, most of the time I have my ringer off so I can stay productive. And but this day, whenever I walked with my oldest home with the baby, even though he was technically old enough to babysit, if he woke up and I wasn't there and something happened, I needed him to be able to reach me. So I had my thing on. That's how I saw the comment. Yeah, I see him here at the corner of such and such and such and such. And I look up to look around because that's where I was. And then it hits me. I'm the chubby black man walking that doesn't belong in the neighborhood. I was like, oh my goodness. So anyway, that's why I wanted to talk to that gentleman. Make sure, you know, because he looked really ominous coming towards the van. And he's got one of those vans that looks like he lives in it. And, hey ladies, I just wanted to make sure. But like, let's say you are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and you're feeling lonely. And it's really easy to happen because, I don't know about y'all, but I'm at an age now where my friends are starting to die. Like, it's scary. Like, I didn't think I was going to get this old this fast, right? Like, I didn't think I was going to get this old this fast, where I'm going to funerals not only for my friends' parents, but for my friends. And I'm beginning to get a sense, oh wait, no, I don't have to watch him. He's with his brother. I'm getting a sense of how my dad was feeling towards the end of his life when everyone was dying off, and how lonely he felt. And I'm not there yet. I am not even trying to compare myself to the loneliness and the downward spiral that my dad went in when we flew him out that Christmas to come watch the Steelers beat Houston. And we spent Christmas on the beach. Like, he was in such a depression. I wasn't all the way out of debt yet. And as a financial planner who teaches people to get out of debt, I was like 3 months away from getting out of debt. But I felt so strongly in the spirit that I needed to do this thing with my dad. Because I'm looking at his Facebook posts, and he's posted about if he was gone, would anybody care? And sometimes suicide looks like the best answer. And I mean, when you see that stuff and you care about somebody, you want to do whatever you can to cheer him up. So we flew him out, and we got to talking a little bit, not a whole lot, because my dad is, you know, an island man. He not gonna spill all the tea. Not on himself, he's not. But I got the sense that he was feeling real lonely. And that getting away and getting to the beach and spending some time with us, and he and my husband built me a desk, mostly my dad, built me a desk. But then together, they built me a desk. And I still have that desk. That's the desk I broadcast from in my son's room, my home studio. It's in my son's room. And I wanted to move it into my new office, but it's been moved so many times with the Air Force that I don't want to risk moving it, because I think the next time I move it is probably gonna be the last time. I don't think the base is gonna last. I think it's gonna fall apart because it's been moved so many times with the Air Force. And then I foolishly let somebody move it from me from one house to another. And when I was in town, and the Air Force didn't do it, and they stood it up, and they didn't listen to me about flip it upside down. And they stood it up in the back of the truck and drove it. And so by the time we got there, it was all weak. Well, by then my dad had, you know, anyway, so he was lonely, basically is what I'm going to talk about. He was lonely. And when your friends are starting to pass away and you look around, you spent all your time tending to your family, and now your kids are grown and gone, and they're starting their own lives. And now your husband may have passed away, or your wife may have passed away, and y'all were each other's ride or die, you know, and y'all were it for each other. And, you know, a lot of people think I'm an extroverted person. I do get energy from creating systems for people and thinking about systems for people, but I actually prefer quiet time with just a few great people that love me, right? Like, I love the party, but if I had my druthers, it'd just be a group of us on the couch or around the dinner table talking about silliness and holiness and how we can make money helping people. Like, that's what I like. Even though I score extroversion because I'm very externally motivated to create systems and refine processes. Like, if you do the Myers-Briggs and some of the other tests, you find that I consistently score in those areas. But at home, it's just me and my husband and maybe one or two friends. And then I keep moving all the time or deploying. Like, I moved to one place, but then I deployed, and then I came back and moved to another location in the same base. You know, like, you change my list of addresses. I think I've got about 25 addresses over a 30-year span from 18. Oh wow, I'm old. So when you're moving a lot, and so I can see it on the horizon. So I took it upon myself to really start learning about, okay, how do I combat this? How do I combat loneliness? How do I make sure that I put systems in place now to help me later? And it is harder when you're older and you spent so much of your life pouring into your family or building your business or building your career or fill in the blank, but you haven't spent time nurturing relationships with other people, you know? And sometimes with other people, we connect. I don't know where it cut off, so I'm just going to say that again. Sometimes we think we've nurtured relationships with other people, but we have not. And I looked at that, like when I had that that really big car accident, the one that ended my military career, I had friends. It's not that I didn't have friends. And my friends, they went in their mind above and beyond. But in my mind, they didn't do what I would have done for them. And some of the fallout from that car accident was that my friends that I had thought I was too demanding because I wanted so much help. I was having panic attacks, driving home. I couldn't even drive the 20 minutes from the base to my house. And I was like freaking out with anybody comes like 10 feet around my car. You know, I was honking well, actually I still do that. Look, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you are driving in front of me and I honk my horn, 99 times out of 100, I am not honking at you. I am honking at the person behind me who is rolling up behind me looking down at their phone. Because that's how I've been hit 2 times now by somebody who was looking at their phone instead of paying attention to coming up behind me. I've been rear-ended 5 times. None of them have been my fault. So I'm a little hypersensitive to that. So if you're watching me from Stephenville and my little blue sapphire car comes up behind you and starts honking the horn, I trust me on this, I am most likely not honking at you because I'm going to pull in far enough behind you that I'm not worried about hitting you. I'm worried about them hitting me. And when I honk that horn, they look up and they slam on their brakes because they realize they're about to hit me, then I feel vindicated, okay? Anyway, going back to loneliness, I thought at that time that I had really poured into my friends. But I had friends who were independent and they didn't need a lot of pouring into. And I'm the kind of person that when I need help, I ask for it. And if I don't ask for it, I don't need it, or I don't think I need it. And so sometimes I find out I need it and you ask, can you help? And I let you help because I think, oh, I just want to be nice and don't want to be rude and say like I can do it all myself. And then I realize, oh man, I needed that help. Like John carried so much of my heavy stuff up to the car. I hadn't realized how heavy it was because Mr. Man been carrying it for me from trade show to trade show. And I just thought it was light because he makes it look so easy. Because I mean, he's like a brute beast, man. He can lift more than anybody I know. That's one of the things that I fell in love with, y'all. How strong he is. Just, anyway, let me get my mind back. Sorry. I love my husband. We're not perfect, but I love him. And I think he loves me. Okay, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I let John help me carry the stuff. Well, I didn't realize how heavy it was till I realized I didn't need certain things and was carrying them back down the stairs. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so heavy. So then I had to appreciate Mr. Man for lugging all my stuff from trade show to trade show. But also, I was thankful that I had accepted John's help because there's no way I would have gotten all those bins into my new office, right? So I had, at that time in my life of the car accident, I had tended to attract into my life very independent, strong women. And now that I'm a stay-at-home mom and I live in a different world than what my adult life has pretty much been, I don't like the phrase independent, strong woman because I see that there's a lot more strength and a lot more leadership and a lot more fluidity required to be the stay-at-home mom who leads her household fluidly and behind the scenes. Like, don't ever think that just because a woman isn't in the workplace, that she is not strong and that she is not a leader in her household and that she's not independent. She just doesn't look independent. But trust me, she runs that roost if she's doing it right. All right. So, but when I say strong, independent women, the women that are like I was know I'm talking about them. Okay. If that makes sense. I'm trying not to offend anybody. If I already offended people in the beginning of the video and realized, oops, this is live. This is not pre-recorded. So, whoopsie. But, you know, I figure you need to know who I am. You know, you want to do business with me. You want me to help you get out of debt. You want to come to my church and hear me preach the gospel. You need to know what you're getting. Because you're not just getting the teaching. You're getting the spirit behind the teaching. You're getting me. You're getting who I am. And some of you today, you've been buying course after course and you've been participating in all these things and you're not getting the results you want because the people you're paying to help you, they are not aligned internally with you. And they have concocted an image designed to get your money, but they're not backing it up with reality and transparency and genuinity. Now, I'm not saying, you know, just because somebody has a fault, you don't do business with them. Of course not. I would never do business with anybody. But I'm saying, if you want a certain level of result, you can pray the prayer that I prayed and ask the Lord to take away from me and strip away from me anybody who's not walking in integrity. Because I couldn't understand the block in my business. And so I had built all these business relationships with people. Good morning. Built all these business relationships with people, but something was not working. Like I was doing all the things right, but the money was decreasing. And there was a particular individual I wanted to associate with, and I kept trying to associate because I wanted to be, I can't explain it without divulging who it was, or if you're in that circle, you'll know who it was. But I wanted to be in this thing that they were launching last year. And it just kept not working, it kept not working. And then finally I took it to the Lord in prayer, and the Lord said, I don't want you yoked with this person because of this, and that, and that. Well, I've been yoked with people who are not integrous before. And that feeds into the loneliness discussion, although I wasn't going to go there, but I'm here now, so I'm here, so we might as well talk about it. One of the reasons we have trouble finding people that are relatable to us and resonate with us is because we are so busy walking with people who don't. And so we do all these things, we go to all these mixers, we hang out at the table with people that we know, we chit chat, and we think we're doing something. But what we're actually doing is sending signals to people who really would like us for who we are, that we're not right for them. Because we're walking alongside these other people that don't have integrity. You know, the Bible says, how can two walk together unless they agree, right? And I understand we're not going to always agree on religion. We're not going to always agree on lifestyle. We're not going to always agree on parenting. We're not going to always agree on a lot of things. But if we have the same values, then we can walk together. And so for me, I like to surround myself with people who think different thoughts, but have the same values, right? I don't need everybody around me to think what I think. But the problem with that is when you have that kind of personality that you're like, I can learn from just about anybody. If you walk too long with the wrong people, you are sending a go away signal to the right people. And so if you're finding in your life that you're around the wrong people, then, and you can't seem to make the right people stick, then I encourage you to look into that and see if maybe, just maybe, you might have too many of the wrong people surrounding you, okay? So going back to the car accident, in my mind, when people helped a little bit and then they were like, I'm done, I got my feelings hurt. And I felt like, well, how could you be my friend? And I didn't see at the time that, I had surrounded myself with people who were used to me not needing help, right? Their friendship with me included inviting me to come hang out, go to dinner, go on trips, with no commitment and no effort on their part. I would show up, I would pay my way, we would have a good time, laugh, hee hee, ha ha ha. Sometimes I would drive, sometimes they would drive. We would be companions for each other, but there was no commitment, there was no interaction, there was no interchange, there was no relationship building on that deep level. It was all very surface level relationships. I still love all those ladies, especially the ones that helped me with my son, but we did not build strong friendships. I'm not going to say we built userships. Now, I built a lot of userships over the years because for a long time when I first got to college and discovered that people don't like me, for a long time I was chasing after affection and acceptance. And so when you're chasing after affection and acceptance, what you attract into your life are people who will give you little driblets of it. And because they give you little driblets of it, then you feel like you'll do anything for them. And they know that. It's predatory. And so that's what the first half of my adult life was characterized by. And then as the Lord began to heal me of that need to be perfect and that need to have everybody like me and that need to have everybody accept me, the lessons that I'm trying to teach my little one. For those of you who are coming in after the fact, this video started with my son observing that I did not fit in very well with a group of ladies that I tried to fit in with today, a new group that I was trying to break into. It's an old group I used to be in years ago, but I hadn't been in a long time. And so I was trying to get back into it. And it was very clear that, not that anybody was going to be rude because I'm in the South and ain't nobody going to be rude in the South. They are not going to be rude so that I can't go on a video on live internet and say they were rude. But the energy and the body language and the not making room made it very clear that I was not welcome. And so the little one picked up on it, and he made the comment about how I have the same problem he has. Nobody wants to be his friend. And some kids say they want to be his friend, but their parents won't let them be his friend, which kind of stinks. Like, who says that to a second grader, you know? Anyway, that's where this whole thing started. And so when a lot of times we think we're building friendships, but we're actually building userships, or we're building surface level friendships that can't handle the deeper things. And we don't even know it because our pride, our ego, just the way we are so used to not needing help or not operating on a deeper level. Or maybe nobody in our upbringing modeled that for us. They didn't model the deeper level for us. So we don't even understand what that's like. Like, I dated somebody one time, and him and Mr. Man are the only two guys out of the 50-something I went out with in a 2-year period, because I was trying to prove it that I was valuable to somebody who didn't even care. But you can read about it in 40 Dates in 4 Months. It was really more dates than that, but I wanted a cute title. This guy that I was dating is, in addition to Mr. Man, they were the only two guys that ever came to church with me. So that was kind of cool. And even though his background wasn't the most savory, I liked the fact that he was respectful of my boundaries as a minister, the things that I was not going to do in a relationship. And I liked the fact that he came to church with me. And I also liked the fact that when, oh man, I don't even think I can tell that story without divulging who he is. Let's see if I can tell that story. I liked the fact that somebody got up and talked bad about PTSD veterans and made fun of PTSD like it's not a real thing. And since this guy knew the history with my ex-husband, how I really do believe that our marriage deteriorated due to untreated PTSD, that's what I believe. Now, he hasn't been diagnosed. He won't go in to get seen. But I remember the difference in how he was before he went to Iraq and the difference in how he was after he came home from Iraq. And that's what I feel in my heart. His irrationality, his anger, and all that stuff. And so this guy knew that. And he made sure that person did not have work in our town again. That's how much he cared about the fact that hurt me. For this person to dog out veterans with PTSD as if they're lying for money. Okay? But that person, we were talking about friends, and he was like, I don't have any friends. I was like, what do you mean you don't have any friends? He's like, well, I'm in the entertainment business, and nobody's your friend. Everything is transactional. And I thought to myself at the time that he said it, well, how sad is that you don't have any friends? Like, how do you not have friends? Well, what I didn't realize is I hadn't built deep level friendships. Now, I had people in my life who then were trying to be friends. I didn't appreciate them. I'm going to say that right now. I didn't appreciate them. I didn't understand the level of depth. I didn't understand that, I didn't understand how to be a friend. And that's one thing that I've learned moving out here and making a couple new friends. Like, for example, I don't know how to explain it, so I'm just going to give the example. I make oil for my kids' skin because both of them have really bad eczema issues when they were younger. And I've been making this oil concoction for maybe 10, 12 years now. And I used to make it into a salve, and that's what I use for my oldest. But now that they're older, they don't really need all that effort, so we just use the oil. But it works. It really works for them. I can't market it like it works. I don't have an FDA stamp of approval on it. But every time I make some, I ask people if they want some. Nobody ever wants some. But this year, like 4 ladies in my new gym group wanted some oil. And I was like, yay, somebody finally gets to try this. And it wasn't even my recipe. Like, I got this concept. Hey, how come my thing is not telling me? I better turn around. I'm at 2 miles. Y'all, my feet are going to be hurting for days. I was only supposed to do 2 miles total because I already busted my feet doing an extra long walk the other day. My phone died, so y'all didn't get to hear how long I walked. I don't remember how long it was, but it was just so nice to be out. I just walked and kept walking and kept walking. I was like, oh, I got to turn around. So anyhow, so I make the oil. I give everybody samples, and everybody's like, I need to pay you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, I need to pay you. And I was shocked by that. I've never, A, had people take me up on the samples, the free sample offer, and B, I've never had people ask me for payment. Ask me how to pay me. Like, there was a level of respect there that I hadn't experienced in the past. And so part of me was like, it was so unusual that part of me began to wonder, well, do these people not like me? Is that what they're saying? Like, why aren't we friends? Where like, I can't just do something for you. Because, you know, if you have a friend and you're always keeping track of how much you do for them versus how much they do for you, that's not really a friendship. Y'all aren't friends yet, right? But it wasn't about, and I almost rejected some wonderful friendships because I felt like if you liked me, why would we have to be transactional, you know? But really, what they were doing was being respectful, okay? And so that incident caused me to look back on my older relationships, the ones where I complained that, hey, you know, you said you were going to help me and you didn't help me. And I asked for this and I didn't feel like it was that much to ask for. But, you know, I felt like I looked back and I said, oh, I wasn't a very good friend. And I made a lot of things about me. And I made a little bit about them, but because they didn't ask for much, I was happy for them to not ask for much and then make it all about me. I hope I'm making this right. I don't think I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm a mean person. People say I'm mean because I walk with excellence and I can be critical. I look at it now as a gift to be critical because you need people who can come to organizations and make them better. And if everybody's like, oh, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, you're never going to make things better. Because they're never going to tell the boss what really needs to be told to make things better. So you need people like me who can be like, hey, you got this issue in this organization. You got this issue in that leadership chain. You got this, and this. These things need to be fixed. Like you need people like that in order to have the best business and then sometimes even have the best relationship. You need people like that to have your best finances. Like you need me. You need me. All right. But I wasn't a good friend. And so then it's like, okay, well, some of us have spent a lifetime not being a good friend. And so as we get older, we find that we're not full of friends. And the few friends we had are either getting sick or they're dying off. And so I'm at the approach of that ramp where I'm starting to see friends die often. And it's kind of like, oh my goodness. And I had to learn, I only had two choices. I could learn how to grieve and be able to internalize the loss, give it to the Lord in prayer, and move forward with my life, incorporating anything from their life that I feel is important to leave a legacy and honor their friendship and their legacy. Or I could wallow in sadness and maybe I'm physically still here, but mentally I'm dead out of fear and out of worry and out of anxiety for when is it going to be my turn. Or who else is going to go next, right? The other category that I'm seeing happen to my friend group from when I was younger is health issues. So like, I want to go on these active trips. Well, it's hard to go on active trips when you are wearing diapers or you have this medical thing or you have that medical thing and you have these situations, right? It's hard to do some of the things that I want to do as an active person with the people that I most want to do them with, because the people that I most want to do them with don't have the stamina and they don't have the energy. And so then it's like, well, gee, I don't want to just sit around all day. I said this to my son the other day. I said, we're not going to just sit around all day watching TV. He's like, why not? That sounds like a perfect day to me. I'm like, 'cause that's what we do every time that you're home. That's what you do. He was late picking up the little one. He gonna be working in my office today, y'all. I'm gonna make that boy work. Anyway, but some of us have spent a lifetime of not being a very good friend, and then we're approaching this new season of life. This new season of life where we're going to have to learn how to accept people that we love transitioning away from us, whether it's parents, friends, children, friends' children, friends' parents, people that we've known, that we've come to grow and love. Like, it is part of the cycle of life, but I don't feel like we as a culture prepare each other very well for that. And I'm not saying that I am by any means well prepared, but it is an area of my life that I'm now researching. Like, all these areas are areas of my life that I'm researching. Like, I literally looked up, how do I avoid wearing diapers? How do I avoid having this issue and that issue? Like, I've never cared about prevention before. And they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. But most of us will just do whatever. And we just want to take a pill or do the cure later to make up for it. Well, that's not how to live your best life. Living the best life is saying, okay, the wise man sees the trouble brewing. This is what Proverbs says. The wise man sees the trouble brewing and takes action, whereas the foolish go on and are punished. And I'm not going to be foolish. I've been foolish, but I'm not going to keep being foolish. I said, okay, this friend has this issue. This friend has that issue. This friend has this issue. All these friends have this issue. How do I not have those issues? Because another thing that my son said to me the other day, he said, Mom, you're the same age as most of my classmates' grandparents. And I was like, okay. So he said, so that means you're going to die while I'm still young because all their grandparents are dying. Well, this is really tough conversation to have with a second grader, y'all. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to die anytime soon. And he's like, well, you're not going to be here long enough to see me have kids. And I was like, of course I am. I'm going to at least be here till you're 50. Without missing a beat, y'all. He did that mental math and was like just like this. Well, you're really going to be here till I'm 50. That means you'll be 90 years old. You really think you're going to last till 90? Y'all. He said that I was bowled over. Like, he said, do you really think you're going to live till 90? I said, honey, that's why I work out every day. And that's why I don't eat all the junk that everybody else eats. Because I'm trying to make sure I can be here till you're 50 at least. And so there are a lot of these kinds of concerns when it comes to finding friends. I'm going to say something that people don't like because I didn't like it when I heard it. And it finally got drilled into me. I don't know if y'all have heard of her, Dr. Joyce Vidral. She wrote some of my favorite workout programs and videos that I still do those workouts to this day. Like, I don't do the whole video, but I incorporate that when I travel. The exercises that she taught me are the exercises that I do when I'm traveling. You know, she taught exercises for every body part, like, 5 or 6 different exercises. So if you're on a trip, you can mix and match it and still get a whole body workout, And she wrote the book Bottoms Up, and she has a lot of really good videos, exercise videos. And I bought when she was going out of business because she was getting older and she was about to retire. And I think she passed on maybe about 2 or 3 years after this. But when she retired, I went and bought all her stuff. So I got duplicates of stuff. It's all just sitting in the storage room because that's how much I loved her work, right? But she had this one thing that I could never find a duplicate of. And I burned a copy of it for somebody and lost the original. But she had this 6 series CD, and the gold disc, the last one of number 6, talked about taking your weight out of the equation. That our society is so visually driven, and our society is so judgmental when it comes to a woman's appearance, more so than a man, but still for a man too, but especially for a woman, that you would be doing yourself a favor to take your weight out of the equation by getting yourself at a healthy level, getting yourself at a trim level. Now, some of us are never going to be able to do that, right? Some of us, the best we're going to be able to do is just the best that we're going to be able to do, especially the older you start, right? But it doesn't mean, and I'm saying that because, wait, let me back up. I'm saying that because we see these ads of, this 83-year-old woman lost 200 pounds and now she's a fitness bodybuilder champion, and we see those ads and then we get sad that we can't do that. Well, even at my thinnest, I've never been built the way to do that. I forget what the body type is. It's well marbled. That was the best way that they explained it to me. All right, I'm starting to get a little warm now. That was the best way that they could explain it to me, is that I was well marbled. So my fat and my muscle are mixed in together. Like, I would make a good steak. I would make a good steak. If we ever crash in the mountains, I better run, because I'm probably the first one they're eating for dinner. But seriously though, one of the things that she talked about is take your weight out of the equation. And as I've moved several times in my 40s and approaching 50, I've noticed, and I'm watching other people who've navigated these waters after spouses died, or after, they've had a long career and then maybe they never married, or they didn't have any long-term relationships, and now they're just lonely. They're done with their career. They don't have that camaraderie of being in the military anymore, and now they don't have anything or anyone. And so me watching that, I said, okay, well, what can I do about this? Well, one of the things that is important is to have a commitment to our fitness. It's one of the most important things that we can do if we want to make friends, because showing a lack of commitment to our fitness is likely to attract other people who have a lack of commitment to their fitness. And you and I both know, because you know me, you know I care about my fitness, but I've had a lot of extenuating circumstances that have precluded me looking like I care about my fitness, even though I am very active. You and I both know that looks aren't everything. You and I both know that somebody can really care about their fitness and be disciplined, and it's just the body that they have or the damage that's been done to it, okay? That's just a fact of life. But other people don't know that, because generally speaking, you know, people are on a bell curve, right? Most people are going to be in the middle of the bell curve, and other people are going to be on the tails, right? Generally speaking, people who aren't fit, people who aren't healthy, tend to not be fit and healthy in other areas of their lives, which means they're not fit and healthy to be a good friend, because they themselves have so many issues. And a lot of times, and they'll see this especially when I was running the singles groups. For a long time, I ran Kingstown Christian Singles, and then I moved to Louisiana and I did Shreveport Bossier Christian Singles, because my husband was in Texas and a single gal needs people to hang out with. So I ran the singles groups. So I created all the fun things to hang out with, and but I was taken. But it's easier to hang out with singles when your husband is somewhere else than it is to hang out with marrieds as a single lady who's not single but looks like she's single. All right. So, but one of the things that I learned from that is we're always looking for somebody to complete us. I am looking for somebody to complete me, and we look at it like 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1. But that's not how relationships are. Relationships aren't addition. Relationships are multiplication. So it's not 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1. It's 1/2 whole person, 1/2 a hot mess, plus times your 1/2 a whole person and 1/2 a hot mess equals 1/4 of a whole person and 3/4 of a hot mess. So this is why sometimes even our most well-meaning, we still end up, we still end up with a whole lot of drama and a whole lot of hot mess, because we are looking at relationships as addition, and those kinds of relationships that are addition are transactional business relationships. So I hire you to do a thing with me, I partner with you to do a thing together, I serve you as a vendor to you. Those are transactional. Those relationships are 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 whole. I have a skill set you don't have. We work together to get the job done. You have a skill set I don't have. I hire you to be that piece in the puzzle for this event, or for this thing, for this partnership, for this real estate deal, right? That's not a deep bonding friendship relationship. Deep bonding friendship relationships are multiplication. And so it's important for us first to get healthy first. Now, I'm not a counselor. I don't play one on TV. I'm just telling you what I've learned in my life and what I've learned by watching other people, because I wanted to figure this thing out before I get to that point. Like, I don't ever want to be in the hospital again and be laying there by myself wondering, is this it? And being alone. I don't want to be that person. And that's why, even though I feel uncomfortable in nursing home sometimes, that I still go to visit, because I feel like, you know, I remember being there. I remember laying in the hospital all day with my mind crazy and my heart racing and not knowing why the ambulance brought me here, you know, and then the doctors ask me, well, why are you here? And I don't know what to tell them, because they didn't tell me, you know. I remember those times, and I don't ever want to be in that situation again. Like, you're too needy, I don't have time for you. Now, I will preface that in that time of my life, I did not realize I hadn't been a very good friend, okay? That's why I'm having this discussion with you now. So the very first thing, that if we are lonely, the very first thing we got to do is get our health and our emotions right. Now, the funny thing is, there's a great book on this, The Child Who Was Raised as a Dog, The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. If you read books like that, again, I am not a counselor, but if you read books like The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog, you'll find that in the counseling space, one of the things that heals us of trauma and negative emotions and anxiety and depression is actually relationships with other people. So then you might say, well, JJ, this is a chicken and egg thing. If I'm feeling this way because I'm lonely and I don't have relationships. How do I go find relationships to help heal me? Well, a lot of times you find those relationships through volunteering. But again, if you show up in negative energy, if you show up with a lack of positive energy, if you show up with a woe is me, I hate my life, I hate myself, nothing works energy. If you show up with, I'm such a loser, nobody's going to talk to me, and if they do talk to me, they're probably just trying to scam me. If you show up with that energy, you are not going to get healthy people that would make healthy friends for you. So it's important for us to get as much of our physical health as we can by moving every day, praying every day, studying our scripture or some book. If you don't share my faith, study something. Get that mind going. You can't read anymore? Listen to it on audio tape. Do something for personal growth every day. Do something for prayer and meditation every day. Do something to move your body every day. I wrote about this in my book, Overcome Inertia. And I admit, it is the worst cover design ever. I had another author critique it. I was part of an author roundtable, and they were like, this is the worst. Actually, Stop Blocking Your Legacy. That one was the worst. That one got the worst reviews. At least Overcome Inertia's got a guy raising his hands in victory. But I wrote about it in that book is how I got my life back together after that devastating divorce that left me with $845,000 in debt. And everybody kept saying, well, if you just wake up a couple hours early, or if you just do things while your kids are in bed. Well, I had a hyper little one who's now 18 years old, but he was hyper. He woke up at 5. He went to bed at 10. If I put him to bed earlier, he would wake up earlier. And I already was up early. And I was like, Lord, I don't see how I can squeeze another couple of hours out. And the Spirit told me in prayer, right now, all you need to give me is 10 minutes of prayer, 10 minutes of Bible study, and 10 minutes of moving your body. And I didn't understand back then why the Spirit said 10 minutes of moving my body. But I felt like the Spirit told me to do it, so I did it. I didn't know back then that moving your body 10 minutes at least every day was enough to help prevent depression and anxiety. I didn't know back then that moving your body 10 minutes a day was enough to keep diabetes and other diseases that make you know. I still have heard it from people, but I don't have the medical credentials to tell you it, right? So don't sue me. But I didn't know all that. I just know this is what the Spirit told me to do. And I said, okay, that's a half hour. I can wake up, and before I even got out of my room, 10, 10, 10 every day. And then I added a to-do list, but it was only one thing. Like, my whole world had come crashing down on me, y'all. My whole world had come crashing down. My ex and I were ministers. Ministers in Church of the Living God International don't get divorced. But here I was divorced. You know, I taught people how to live a debt-free life. All of a sudden, here I was with $845,000 of debt. That was not supposed to happen. Then here's the one that really kicked me. Because my mom had told me a story a long time ago of how she had applied for welfare and found out that her parents had been on welfare when they started out for a temporary little time. And the condescension that lady gave my mother because her parents had been on welfare for a temporary time made her so resolved to never need assistance again. And you add on top of that, I'm black, my mom's white, she's Italian. Some people don't consider Italian white, but most people today do. Interesting exchange. But y'all know Ethiopian is considered white. What? Anyway, we're not talking. But add on to my disappointment of being a divorced minister, being a person who teaches people to live debt-free, who has $800,000 in debt to their name now. That's a long story how that happens, and I'll let you know how about that sometime. But now, I was a black single mom, and I was applying for assistance, but I was a major in the Air Force, so I didn't qualify for any assistance. And I'm like, well, I need some kind of help, because I gotta pay child care, and I gotta pay this, and I gotta pay that, and I gotta get to work. And if I don't get to work, I get sent to jail. You know, like the military is not like a regular job. Like you can't just say, Uncle Sam, I quit today. You can't do that in the military. In the military, you don't show up to work. That's called AWOL, and they put you in jail. All right. So I was like, and he got me. It was the thing that I had not wanted to be. Everything that I had worked so hard to not be. I was now all of these statistics. And so for me, I was in that state of sliding into depression, and I didn't even know it back then. I know it now because now I've been trained as a military leader. As I climbed up the ranks, I got trained more on how to recognize the signs in my airmen and my scientists and my engineers. And so now I can see it, right? Now I can look back on my life and say that's where I was going. But that's what the Lord told me to do. And if you're in a slump today, I encourage you to get that book. I think it's like 99 cents on Amazon. It is not expensive at all. Get it, Overcome Inertia, and get the devotionals to go with. There's the devotionals in there, and then there's the workout plan, and then there's the spiritual and the research that I did as to why these things worked for me. But it worked for me. So if we need friends, the first thing I recommend we do is work on our emotional and physical health. And we don't have a lot of money sometimes, so maybe we can't afford $1,000 counselor an hour, or maybe we're in a faith system where we feel like to go to a counselor means we're not believing in God. Personally, I don't think that's true anymore. I did used to think that was true, I'll admit. But after I had all that driving anxiety, and the counselor developed a plan for me to get out of driving anxiety and learn how to drive again. And even though I don't like it, I can drive through the Metroplex and not have a panic attack, and I can go where I need to go. Like, you're not going to stop me now. I may not like it, but you're not going to stop me. Whereas in the past, driving anxiety stopped me. Stopped me after 20 minutes, crying on the side of the road, panic attack on the side of the road, migraine on the side of the road. So I don't say anymore that to go to a counselor is to deny your faith, because that counselor knew how to fix what was broken. And even if the Spirit had told me what was broken, and even if the Spirit had told me, watch YouTube videos of car accidents, I don't think I would have done it. If the Spirit had told me, drive around on Airline Drive in a loop during rush hour for an hour, in a loop, don't go from point A to point B, that doesn't work, you got to go in a loop, you got to go over and over and over and over and over, I wouldn't have done it if the Spirit had told me that. So the Lord sent me somebody with authority in the medical field to tell me to do that, and I didn't do it the first time. I didn't, y'all. Oh, it's so sad. I didn't do it. And then one day I drove to work, and this was my big chance to make a big splash with my new boss, our new director. And I wanted to show her that I had healed from the car accident, and I was exactly the officer she needed on her team. Oh, y'all, I was going to bust in there and be amazing. Except I witnessed the car accident right outside of the gate. And so I sat in that 2 days of that meeting crying and crying and crying, because I thought about how that girl's life that they were pulling out of that car. And they finally got everybody there, and they finally cut open the car, jaws of life. And I was like, I thought about what I'd gone through, and I couldn't take it, because I felt like, oh my goodness, if she's going to go through like 10 times what I went through, and what I went through was bad enough. And so I sat through the whole thing crying, and I was like, okay, well, I failed at that. I showed the boss I am not healed. I showed the boss I am not ready for more responsibility. I showed the boss I could not be trusted, because I couldn't even go into work. I wasn't even on time, y'all. I sat in the parking lot crying for like half an hour, and then I was trying to get myself together. I didn't want to walk in crying. But then I was like, well, I'm late now. I gotta walk in. So then I sat through the whole time. Yeah. Anyway, so then I go back to the counselor, and I'm like, that driving plan you told me about? Well, I kind of threw it away, and I need you to give me another one. The driving anxiety plan. And it literally was, listen to car noises, then watch YouTubes of accidents, and then drive. It was more steps than that, but that was basically the progression. So we have to get that stuff together, because again, if our energy is not right and we're trying to make friends, all we're going to do is attract the wrong people in our life. And I'm not saying the friends that I had that were independent and not used to needing help from anybody and not used to giving help to anybody, because we were all independent and took care of ourselves. I'm not saying that those were bad people. I'm saying that because we were also independent, because we were all so independent, that I never took the time to dig down and find out what their deep needs were for a friendship. And because I never took the time to find out what they needed in a friend, I could never be that friend. And when I needed more than that superficial independent level of friendship, they weren't prepared to give it. And they weren't connected enough to me to give it. Okay? And so, there's also times where I just said the wrong thing. Like, I had one friend that used to keep my son from me all the time. I was like, man, I need to make some more friends so I have more people to help me with my son. And I offended her. But what I was looking at is I could see that she was going to keep her promise to me. And I could see that even though she was single and lived by herself, and that she had more of a capacity, you know, it was her and her dog. She had more of a capacity to take care of him because she was, you know, used to him, and we lived around the corner from each other. I could see that it was wearing on her. But I could see that she wasn't going to not help me because we were friends and she made a commitment to help me. So in my mind, I thought I was like showing, I appreciate what you're doing and I'm trying to help you by finding more people that can help me because I appreciate how you help me, but that's not how it came off. So that's the next thing, is sometimes we have to understand that when we're making friends, we have to understand how we come across. And I'm going to admit up front, I am the worst at that. I'm better at it now because part of my healing from the car accident has been studying social cues more than I used to. Like, I never realized I needed to. And then I got to a point where I would say and do things that were untoward. After the car accident, especially, I mean, people are like, well, I've been knowing you. You've been saying mean, critical stuff all your life. I haven't meant to. But after the car accident, it was especially worse because society has changed a lot. And there's a lot of things that you say or don't say now that you didn't used to say or don't say back then. Okay? And so, in just a couple of years. And so what happened for me is I lost, how do I want to say this? My memory stopped at the car accident. So I remembered things that happened right before the car accident like they happened yesterday. And it was only by giving people permission, and you have to do this with junior ranking people because nobody ever wants to tell you anything, first of all, especially if you outrank them. Like, I had to give people permission to say, ma'am, that was 2 years ago. That was 3 years ago. You know, I had to give people permission to tell me those things. And whenever they would tell me those things, it's like the neurons would come back together. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right. And then I would remember more, and I would remember more, and I would remember more. And there were a lot of social faux pas. And I could see on everybody's face that I said something wrong, and I'd be like, well, what did I say? And everybody would look away. Nobody wants to say. And I finally had to be like, look, I had this car accident. Sometimes I don't recognize people that I've known for years before then. And you got to tell me who you are, and then my memory will come back. Or you got to tell me what I just did wrong, and then my memory will come back. But life has changed so much. You know, there's words that we say today. No. There's words that we don't say today that we used to say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years ago, that were okay to say and that were acceptable to say. And if you didn't say them, you weren't part of the group, right? Not the group, but like part of normal society. So things change, and I had to give people permission on that. And so we also have to understand how we come across. And in my case, I had to humble myself and be like, I need y'all to tell me when I'm messing up here. And that's helped a lot. And now I know our society, this is one of those areas that I really take issue with our culture, because our culture is so risk averse and our culture is so ego-centered that we can't tell each other we're wrong. You know, we can't just say, hey, sir, hey, man, you sent the wrong attachment. Can you check the attachment and send me the right one? Or, hey, sir, hey, man, this appears to be the wrong attachment. You got to call me over to your desk, walk me through a half-hour explanation of why I sent you the wrong thing. I told my folks, I was like, well, the first time somebody did that, I was like, I get it, you're trying to be respectful, but you just wasted 30 minutes of my time when you could have just told me, ma'am, I think you might have sent the wrong attachment. And then I could have fixed it from my desk, and both of us would have had more free time than I had earlier. And it's funny, I thought people would appreciate that. They did not. Because basically, I was telling him to be rude, and he wasn't going to be rude. But I was like, well, you know what? If you feel like that's rude, just be rude with me. I don't think it's rude. You're helping me out. But anyway, it's important for us to understand how we come across to others. And some really good books from that. If you are like me and you are, like, if you don't understand the purpose of small talk, like, I get it now. Small talk shows respect, right? It shows care and concern. But if you don't understand the purpose of small talk, if you don't understand why in the grocery store saying excuse me is rude, because in your mind you're like, hey, I'm coming up behind you, let me say excuse me so you can get out of my way. Like, that's how I thought all my life. And then I read these 2 books and I said, oh, this is part of why people think I'm so rude, because I'm doing this and this and this, and I think I'm being polite, but I'm actually being rude. And one of them is called That's Not What I Meant. And I didn't think I was going to go down this route when I started making this video. For those of you who are just joining me late, I started making this video in my feels, which I usually... Where on earth am I? I started making this video in my feels, which I try not to do. Okay, I see the car, but I don't see what this path I'm on. I've walked like the same path like 4 times now, and I can't seem to figure out how to get to the main path. Anyway, I normally don't make videos immediately after something emotional happens, but I felt like I needed to make that one because I know me. If I waited and did the research, I wasn't going to have the emotion of the moment with my 8-year-old. And so normally I would have researched this, but one of the books is called That's Not What I Meant, or That's Not What I Said. And then the other one is the sequel to that, both written by the same author. Very good books. And both of those books taught me social things that no one had ever explained to me. Like, I didn't even know that to say excuse me was rude. Because I always used to think it was hilarious. Why is somebody just standing there? I'm not even paying attention to the fact that they're standing there. I'm focused on whatever it is I'm trying to get. And they're just standing there waiting for me to move. Well, they're being polite. And another big thing that I took away from that book is, especially for women, the communication. Like, I'm a very direct person. I'm trying to learn how to be a little less direct so I can play better in female circles in my new hometown. But I've been a direct person for almost 50 years. Like, and I'm from the East Coast. Like, I'm sorry, we're direct. We don't have time to waste going around in circles. But now I'm realizing sometimes going around in circles helps maintain the relationship. So I am learning how to go around in circles a little better. Probably doing a poor job of it, but I'm learning. I'm learning, y'all. But if you're like me and you don't understand some of those things, like the person who stands behind you for like 5 minutes and then finally says excuse me, and I'm thinking you should have said excuse me when you first showed up, right? Like, I never knew why that would be considered rude, because that's what I did, and I didn't know why people thought I was rude. Or like I'm a loud person. I didn't know I was a loud person. And then ever since I moved out here, I'll be telling a story and people's heads will turn around and they'll look at me and they'll give me that disapproving look. And one time I was like, are they disapproving the content or am I just that loud? And Mr. Man was like, you're loud. I was like, oh, I am. I was like, well, does it bother you? I can try and be more quiet. He's like, I don't care. He's like, you've always been loud. Yeah. I'll tell you what, you got to marry somebody that is okay with your faults. You know, like, I have an eye that goes lazy when I'm tired, which is why if I'm really overtired, I don't make a video. I'll play a replay, and I'm sorry about that. You know, with all the flu and everything going around, there's been a lot of replays on the channel lately. But I have that issue, and I was talking to him about it one day after we were married, and I was like, does it ever bother you that you have a wife that has this happen when she's tired? And I was tired, so so he was like, I don't notice it. And I thought to myself, it's happening right now. How can he not notice it? He's looking right at me. And instantly, the spirit was like, he sees it. He's been seen it. He just cares not to see it. I think that was my second podcast, actually, back in 2018, 2019. Yeah. So it's anyway, going back to the friendship thing. So there's some things that we can't do anything about, but there's a lot of things that we can do something about. We can do something about our commitment to fitness. Whether or not we ever get down to be a size 0, I'm never going to be a size 0. The smallest I've ever been in my adult size was 8, and that was starving myself, in addition to a 2-month series of 3-day fasts every week, okay, for religious purposes, and starving myself. And I'm never going to go through that again. The detriment to my health was not worth the acceptance that came from people liking how I looked. And if you're watching me today and you think that looks don't matter, I'm going to tell you this story. I should have told it when I talked about how looks matter and why it's important to make ourselves look the way that people want to be around if we want to attract more healthy people into our life. I've always been a big girl, and when I starved myself from here trying to save my first marriage, I dropped down to a size 8 on top, 10 on the bottom. And it was the first time in my life that I heard the nasty things that average sized people say about heavy people. All my life life. I guess I had just been heavy enough that I never heard those things before. And now, all of a sudden, I was in the crowd that could hear those things, and I was disgusted and offended. And in fact, one of my favorite running groups, the reason I stopped attending is because I volunteered with them one day, and they were making nasty wisecracks about the people who were at the back of the line. We're giving out waters and Gatorades and stuff, and they were saying all kinds of nasty things about all the big slow people at the end. And at one point I got so frustrated, I said to one of the groups, hey, that's me. And those people have to work harder. That girl running in a skirt with her sneakers, she has to work harder to finish this race than you do. Because not only is she going against her size, which you don't have her size, and she's trying to better her life, you got to support her for that. But she's also going against her culture, which wouldn't like her. Y'all should be applauding her, not tearing her down and ridiculing her. But if you've never been that size where people say those things, then you wouldn't know that they say those things. Because I never knew. What is that? It looked like a tear, but that was a leaf. Although it makes me want to cry, actually. It makes me want to cry, but that's probably because the wind's blowing on me. But still, if you've never been small enough to hear those things, then you don't know that that's what's being said and how people are being judged. And then I remember being hurt when my oldest was like third or fourth grade. And he would use cute little phrases that people use today to talk about big people without calling them big. So he would say things like take up more space, or, you know, someone who enjoys their food, or just little things like that. Like, because, you know, it's gone out of fashion to call people fat. And so there were all these other ways to talk about it. Well, no one ever taught me those ways because I was one of the people they were talking about until I wasn't. And I'll tell you, that gave me a lot of stress and anxiety when I got pregnant with him and never lost the weight again to get back down to the size where I heard that conversation again. And so, anyway, it's important for us to understand if we want to be friendly. I'm not saying if you want to make friends, you got to be thin and gorgeous, okay? That does help, though. And for us to ignore that it helps, for us to ignore that a fit man is going to have more attractive mate options and friendship options than a significantly overweight man, for us to ignore that is to be deceiving ourselves. It's like the scripture I've been working on in this re-engage program that we're taking through Lincolnville Baptist Church. The lessons are on forgiveness. And one of the scriptures is in 1 John 1:8. If any of us says we don't have sin, we are deceiving ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we don't have the friend life that we want to have, if we find it really difficult to make friends, if we find it harder to craft the life that we want to have, and we pretend that none of these things have a factor, then what we're doing is we're deceiving ourselves and we're lying to ourselves, and the truth is not in us. And so in this video, I know it's been kind of long and it's been kind of scatterbrained, but I've covered a couple things. Some things that you can do something about and some things you can't do something about. So things that you can't do something about, sometimes it's hard to make friends because you're in an area where your race is not welcome, or your gender is not welcome, or your lifestyle is not welcome, or your faith is not welcome. There's nothing you can do about it in your locality. You're going to have to get to other localities to find friends, okay? Sometimes we have trouble making friends because our energy isn't right. We're not taking care of our bodies, and even though we don't realize it, it's translating to how we broadcast energy to the rest of the world, and they're picking up on that something's not right. And they don't even know that what something's not right is we lost our husband or we lost our wife and we're grieving, and that's what's really what it is, and we just need a hug. What they're picking up on is something's not right. And people don't have time and energy anymore to really dig under and find out what's not right. In this age where people get shot for nothing, and this age where people get mugged and stolen from for nothing, people don't have time to dig in and be friendly. They're concerned about their safety. Something's not right. I'm moving on. Unless they themselves are not right. And then, like I said, that relationship, if it becomes more than a transactional business type of relationship, it becomes a multiplication. You, one half hole in your head and one half hot mess, plus times them, one half hole and one half hot mess equals 1/4 of a decent relationship and 3/4 of a hot mess full of drama. Okay? And so a lot of us, that's all we're attracting. And then when we need those people to be there for us, they can't be there for us because they're too busy trying to be there for themselves, or not even trying to be there for themselves, but they've got too many of their own issues. And so, like, if we're really, really anxious, or we really have a lot of these issues, and all we attract in our life are anxious people with low self-esteem, sometimes that feels good because they think highly of us. But it doesn't feel good when the person with low self-esteem needs so much extra care and feeding that you almost can't be friends with them. Because every little thing they interpret as you're not going to be a good friend, or you don't like them, or there's something about them you don't like. And if I'm talking about you, please know I'm talking about me too. Back in the day, I was that person. Every little thing I would interpret like, oh, they don't really like me. Because I had been used to a lifetime of people not really liking me, just taking advantage of me. Right? Because I wasn't healthy. Not because I wasn't healthy. It's not my fault that people took advantage of me. But I was open to people taking advantage of me because I wasn't healthy. So some things you can't do anything about. Some things we can. We can get our energy right by taking care of our bodies, really, really connecting with our faith, and doing things that will help us be more confident. So learning a new skill, learning something new, trying something new, getting out of our comfort zone. Rory Ray has this, back in the day when she used to have this blog about having the relationship you want. I don't know if she's still out there, but this was like 15 years ago. Have the relationship you want. And she had this exercise called the underwear drawer. And basically what you do is you take out everything in your underwear drawer and you empty that drawer and you swap it with something else. And so now every time you go to get your underwear, you have to think. And what it's doing is it's rewiring you to get outside of your comfort zone. So looking for ways to get outside of our comfort zone. But then, okay, I'm getting outside of my comfort zone. I'm getting my energy right. How do I find people who will like me? Well, you got to find people you like. And if you are an eclectic, unique personality, it's not going to be super easy to find people you like. I'm not even going to pretend about that. I go to a lot of conferences. I'm part of a lot of masterminds and network groups. And I go into these groups to learn as a primary purpose. But a very high secondary purpose is to find more people to add to my tribe. And when I rebuilt, I have them redesigning the Juneteenth legacy page. It's almost ready to publish. I have them redesigning it. And we've got a list of previous speakers. And when I look at that list, my heart warms. My heart swells. Because these are people that have poured into my life. And they're people that I'm still connected with. Some people, like Shar Halliburton, has spoken in almost every conference I've had since I started having them. You know, some people, well, I better not start naming names because I'm going to miss somebody. But I will say, Dr. George Fraser's on there. Dr. Boyce Watkins is on there. Those men have poured into me. And I may have paid for it, or I may not in the case of Dr. Fraser. But I paid for it with service, you know. But those men poured into me. And when I look at that, it makes me happy. It makes me happy to see that out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that I meet everywhere I go, there are a handful that stick. And so you can choose what kind of life you want, right? Like me, I want, in my private time, I want a genuine experience. I don't want to have to put on airs in my private time. If I have to put on airs around you, then you're part of my public life, not my private life. And I used to want lots of people in my private life, but I have learned that I'm oddball. I'm a weirdo. As my sister-in-law called me before we got engaged, she said I was weird. Now, she also said that my husband, then my boyfriend, was bizarre. So we were looking at each other, we're like, well, I guess we're a match set. And we still joke like that. Hey, you're weird and I'm bizarre. But we work, right? But when you're weird, your friends list grows smaller. The available pool of people who like being around weirdos is smaller than the available pool of people who like being around weirdos. The available pool of people that like being around people with no clout and no money and no appearance equity to make them basically look good when they're around you. The amount of people who want to be friends with people who do not bring that kind of thing to the table is smaller than it is for somebody who has those things. It doesn't mean you have to have those things, but if you want more people, then you have to attune to more people, right? They are. But for me, I tried for a while to attune to more people, but it took too much energy out of me. And I would be exhausted when I got home, and then I wouldn't have good energy for my family. You know, because I was so busy putting out the energy that I thought other people needed in order to accept me or to be my friend or to try to build a relationship with. Like, I wanted them to build a little bit of a relationship with me before I show them all my crazy. And now I'm at a point in my life where I have people all over the world who watch my videos, and they either filter me in or they filter me out. So when they come up wanting to be friends, I do have to filter and test to make sure, are they just trying to take advantage of me? But it's you don't hang around me very long if you don't want to be my friend in a private sense, because I wear you out. And I like hanging around other people who wear other people out. Not in a mean way, but I'm saying, like, we doing stuff. We're going to this here, we're going to that there. We take off that, we take off that one jacket, put on another jacket, go to the gala, take that off, put this on, do this, run over here, run over there. We got 3 businesses, 2 side hustles, and 4 ministries. Like, that's the kind of people I roll with. And that's because I'm high energy. Now I'm getting a little older. I may not be as high energy as I was 20 years ago, but I roll with high energy people, but people who are not highfalutin behind closed doors. And so a lot of times with high energy people, when we get behind closed doors, they don't like being around me, because I just want to relax and be silly and talk about silly stuff. I don't want to talk about drama. I like talking about real deal issues. I like talking about scripture and about faith. I like talking about how we can improve life for poor people. Like, these are things that I enjoy. I don't just do them. I don't just help people build wealth because I just want to make money. I care and I want to help. And the Lord encouraged me today. I was studying Psalms 41. Blessed is he that considereth the poor. Y'all, that consider is not a think. That consider is an act. So you're going to look that up and go look up the original Hebrew, and you'll see. I said, oh, I'm all in this scripture. The Lord's going to bless me. He going to keep me. He going to take care of me because I consider his poor. But anyway, I find it personally for me, I get people who know me professionally, and then they're very disappointed when they see me off duty, because they think that I'm this highfalutin, grown and sexy kind of person. Because when you're on stage, I don't put off, like, I don't ever wear anything that's sexy, but when you're on stage, people have an impression of you. And I don't ever try to be disingenuous, right? That's not who I am. But people expect that I'm here, and I'm just a regular person. I'm just a regular person who cares and who will let the Lord use me. Like, I'm not anybody special. They're somebody special. So then they get disappointed. Every once in a while, I get someone who's like, oh, you're just like, oh my goodness, I love you. And I'm like, yes, I do. But then, or I get people who know me just about relaxing time, but when it's time for business, they don't like being around me, because when it comes to serving people, I'm a serve with excellence. Now, I like to think that I chill with excellence too, but especially when it comes to business and serving people, I'm not going to cut corners. I'm not looking for people to work for me that just want a paycheck. You want to get paid. It cracks me up how many people get up and testify, I just want a job. Y'all pray for me. I want a job where I can get paid to do nothing. And then when I've got a job opening, they're like, can I come work for you? And I'm like, I value our relationship too much. I don't hire church members or family members. I will one day when I get big and I can shield myself from some of that. But right now, because I'm not who you think I'm going to be. And people say, well, you should bring that into balance. I'm like, I like the balance I have. My family likes the balance I have. Because if I brought it into balance, I'd be hard charging all the time. I wouldn't have any friends. I wouldn't have a family either. But so I'm saying all this to say, some of us don't have friends because we're so into our own sorrow and we're so into our own plight. Or some of us don't have friends because we are tripping some of these societal hot wires, if you will. The energy, the fitness, the mental state, those things. We're not doing the things. So I want to make sure I comfort people on this. So if you're suffering with anxiety and depression and things like that, I am not a counselor, I'm not a doctor. But my observation has shown me that if you're suffering with things and you start taking the actions to better your situation, or you start taking the actions to get healthier, even if you're not all the way there yet, it changes your energy and it makes your energy more likely to resonate with the kind of people that would be good friends for you. Then we need to make sure that we get in the right environments to make friends. And sometimes that's not locality. Sometimes, like, I live in rural Texas. There's like 16,000 people here. It's easier for me to find friends living in DC or Northern Virginia, where you got 1 million people in one square block. Like, if you don't like me, that's okay. I can go over this street. I don't even ever have to see you again. That's not how it works in a small rural town, a rural Texas town. That's not how it works. We see each other all the time. So it's a different kind of dynamic. But we have to get to where people are, and we have to find people that will resonate with us, and we have to be willing not to be hurt when we don't resonate with everybody, because we're not gonna. And like I said earlier, the more oddball you are, the smaller the available pool of people that will want to be around you, because so many people are living in fear and they're living in anxiety that they only want to be around people that elevates their social value. And if you're just a regular person and you don't elevate anybody's social value, and if you missed me when I said it, the ways that people elevate social value is like you're somebody to be seen with, you have connections to somebody to be seen with, or you look really good, right? Those are things that elevate somebody else's social value by being around you. Well, if you don't have any of that to offer, your pool of available people is going to be smaller. And you may or may not care, but if you want a lot of friends, you got to be, the Bible says a man who will have friends got to show himself friendly. That doesn't just mean be nice and serve people all the time. Because a lot of us that serve people all the time and we just do nice things for everybody, a lot of times that's because we ourselves don't feel good about ourselves until we're doing something to serve somebody else, and we're doing it, we don't even realize. I didn't realize it, y'all. I thought I was just a nice person. I am a nice person. I will help people all day long. I love getting paid to help people. At the same time, though, back in the day, I would volunteer and do all these things to help others because I didn't feel worthy in and of myself to breathe the air around me. And if I could serve somebody else, if I could help just one person, people say that all the time, if I could just help one child, if I could just help one person, then for a moment, just a moment, I felt better about me. And it wasn't until I learned to feel good about me and accept me, warts and all, faults and all, bad eyebrows and all, big belly and all, until I learned to accept me for me, my helping others, again, was simply transactional. It wasn't a deep, meaningful relationship. And it truly didn't serve them the way that I thought I was serving them. It opened me up for predatory behavior and for abuse and for other things like that. And so, even though I said earlier, hey, one of the best ways to make new friends is to go volunteer. Go learn something new. Try something new and hang out with people. And I do this all the time. I will try something new just to see if I make friends. If there's a new class, if there's a new group, I will just show up just to see if I resonate with everybody. And most of the time I don't. Honestly, most of the time I don't. But again, I'm weird. I've accepted this. I don't need to resonate with everybody. But I'm going to keep the habit, because as we get older and as our friends pass away, there's either one or two choices. You disappear sooner than you want, or you learn how to adjust to it. You're either dead or you're dealing with death the more we get older. And so it's important to not only understand how to grieve, but how to keep the pipeline full so that you can continue to meet new and interesting people that will up-level your life. And when you meet new and interesting people that will up-level your life, it's important for you to have something to give. Well, if I'm so stressed out about myself and I'm so self-conscious that I'm always worried about myself, I don't have anything to give. I don't have anything to give you. I'm asking for you to give to me, but I don't have anything to give to you. And for too much of my life when I was younger, and that's why I always feel bad about the friends who were like, you too needy. And I was like, no, I'm not. But actually I kind of was. I didn't know how to give. And then when I did try to give, I gave too much because I was so desperate for friendship. And so if you're listening to me today, I know it's been long. I appreciate those of you who've been on. If you've been listening to me today, I hope it's been encouraging for you. I hope that something that I've said today will help you take one step forward in the right direction. Because the reality is it's not going to get easier as we get older. It gets harder and harder. People get set in their ways. They get disappointed and discouraged with life. They get disappointed and discouraged with where their decisions have landed them. And rather than take action, they suffer those consequences and they let it eat them alive. And so I'm going to encourage you today, wherever you're at in your life today, really is the sum decision the sum total of the decisions you've made. Yeah, somebody may have done this to you, and yeah, somebody may have done that to you. And those things are not your fault, but they are your responsibility. And how you act and respond to them are your responsibility. And I hope that you will take responsibility if you're feeling lonely today, and that you will join me on a quest to continue adding more friends to my life. A man who has friends must show himself friendly. And I hope that you will join me in learning new skills to show ourselves friendly. That's all I got for y'all today. Y'all can find me on social media at JJ Knows the Way. Y'all take care and be blessed.